35. Most beautiful Black R&B legends you can't recognize today. They were once the definition of beauty, power, and soul, the women who ruled stages, topped charts, and left the world in awe. But today, you might walk past these R&B legends on the street and not even recognize them. Time, tragedy, and triumph have reshaped their lives, yet their voices and stories remain unforgettable. From queens of Motown to pioneers of neo-soul, these 35 icons remind us that fame is fleeting, but legacy is eternal. Which of these transformations will shock you the most? Stay tuned, hit that like button, subscribe, and join Legends of Black Excellence now. Mavis Staples. Mavis Staples is more than just a singer. She is the living embodiment of gospel power fused with R&B soul. Born in Chicago in 1939, she rose to fame as the heart of the Staple Singers, the family group led by her father, Pops Staples. Together, they created classics like Respect Yourself and I'll Take You There, songs that didn't just entertain, but carried the spirit of the civil rights struggle. In the early 1960s, while touring the segregated South, the group faced hostility and even arrest in Birmingham for daring to defy racist laws. Those moments transformed Mavis from a promising vocalist into a fearless activist who used her music as a form of protest. Her personal life, however, was marked by sacrifices. She once shared a deep, almost spiritual connection with Bob Dylan, who even proposed marriage. Yet family opposition ended the romance before it could flourish. Mavis never married, never had children, and instead gave herself fully to her art and her mission. Over the decades, she endured profound loss, the passing of her father, and all three siblings who once stood beside her on stage. Each death left an invisible scar, but also a renewed determination to keep their voices alive through her own. Have you ever wondered what it means to keep singing when the world you built your voice around has faded away? Even into her 80s, Mavis continues to tour her voice, carrying a richness shaped by both sorrow and resilience. She often says that now she sings not just for herself, but for the souls of her loved ones who are gone. Time may have changed her outward appearance, but her inner light remains untouchable. Mavis Staples is proof that true beauty lies in endurance, faith, and the courage to never stop raising your voice. Dionne Warwick. Dionne Warwick stands as one of the most enduring voices in American music history, a woman whose elegance and artistry made her a household name around the world. Born in 1940 in New Jersey, she became the muse of legendary songwriters Burt Bacharach and Hal David. Her interpretations of Walk On, By I Say a Little Prayer, and Do You Know the Way to San Jose didn't just top charts. They helped define the very sound of 1960s pop and R&B. Over her career, she has sold more than 100 million records, won 5 Grammy Awards, and earned her place in the Guinness Book of World Records as one of the most charted female vocalists of all time. Yet behind the glamour, her journey was filled with trials. Warwick's marriage to actor William Elliott was a storm of passion and conflict, married in 1966, divorced a year later, reconciled, then finally parting ways in 1975. She carried the burden of raising 2 sons largely on her own, balancing motherhood with the demands of international fame. In the 2000s, her life took unexpected turns in 2002. She was detained at an airport for carrying marijuana, a scandal that momentarily overshadowed her decades of artistry. If you had sold 100 million records, but still faced personal hardships, would the world see your strength or only your struggles? Financial mismanagement compounded her challenges. By 2013, Warwick, once among the highest-paid entertainers in the industry, was forced to file for bankruptcy, owing more than $10 million in back taxes. Many would have retreated, but not Dionne. Even in her 70s and 80s, she returned to the stage, her voice softened by time, yet still full of class and grace. Though her appearance has changed, her presence remains magnetic. Dionne Warwick is not only a legend of R&B, she is a symbol of resilience, proving that beauty lies as much in endurance as in success. Candy Staton. Candy Stutton, often celebrated as the first lady of Southern soul, carved out a legacy that crossed gospel, soul, and disco with a voice that could be tender one moment and fiery the next. Born in 1940 in Alabama, she began her career singing gospel before finding mainstream success in the 1970s with unforgettable hits like Young Hearts Run Free and Stand By Your Man. Her career earned her multiple Grammy nominations and a permanent place in the history of American R&B. Yet behind the spotlight, Candy's life was far from glamorous. Her marriage to fellow singer Clarence Carter seemed like a fairy tale on the surface, but it quickly unraveled, leaving her to raise children in the aftermath of heartbreak. By 1973, she walked away determined to build a safer life for herself and her family. But freedom came at a cost. The pressures of the music industry, combined with personal struggles, pushed her toward alcohol as a coping mechanism. Nights of exhaustion and pain often left her voice strained, her aura dimmed by battles no audience could see. Have you ever seen someone pour out their pain in a song and wondered how much of their soul was sacrificed for that performance? For Candy, the turning point came in the early 1980s when she returned to the gospel roots that had first given her strength. Choosing faith over self-destruction, she began rebuilding her life piece by piece, balancing her role as a mother of 5 with her calling as a performer. Even in her lowest moments, when she lacked money for food or was forced to take small shows, her determination never wavered. Today, though, time has altered her once youthful face. Candy Stutton remains radiant not just for her music, but for her perseverance. She is a living reminder that true beauty lies in resilience. Darlene Love. Darlene Love's voice defined an era even if her name was hidden behind others. Born in Los Angeles in 1941, she rose to prominence in the 1960s as the powerhouse behind hits like He's a Rebel and the Christmas classic Baby Please Come Home. Yet under the control of producer Phil Spector, she was often denied credit, her vocals reassigned to groups that the public barely knew. For years, the world sang her songs without recognizing the woman whose voice gave them life. The injustice pushed her to the margins. By the late 1970s, when offers dried up, Darlene was forced to step away from music entirely. She took work as a house cleaner in Los Angeles, an unimaginable fall for someone once topping the charts. One morning, scrubbing a bathroom, she heard her own voice come across the radio. It was both heartbreaking and motivating, a reminder of who she truly was. Would you have the strength to keep going if the world tried to erase your name from your own legacy? In the 1980s, she began to fight back. By 1993, a lawsuit against Spector finally awarded her recognition and compensation, though no court ruling could erase the years of stolen glory. Broadway welcomed her return in Leader of the Pack, reviving her career and allowing her to reclaim her stage presence. Her personal life wasn't free from hardship, financial struggles, family burdens, and the death of her father all weighed heavily. But Darlene never stopped singing. Even today, her voice rings out each holiday season, a symbol not just of joy, but of survival. She remains a living example that even if beauty and fame fade, truth and perseverance will always shine through. Martha Reeves. Martha Reeves, born in Alabama in 1941 and raised in Detroit, became one of Motown's most recognizable voices as the lead singer of Martha and the Vandellas. With hits like Dancing in the Street, Heat Wave, and Nowhere to Run, she captured the energy of a generation. Her commanding voice and glamorous presence made her a global star, touring tirelessly as part of Motown's powerhouse roster. But the cost of success was staggering. During the height of her fame, Martha performed more than 300 nights in a single year, leaving her physically and emotionally drained. The exhaustion, combined with the racism she encountered while touring in the South, plunged her into depression and periods of insomnia. When the Vandellas disbanded in 1972, she found herself suddenly adrift, stripped of the structure that had defined her life. Can you imagine going from singing to sold-out crowds to quietly fighting just to keep a roof over your head? Her personal life mirrored her professional struggles. Married young in 1961, her first union quickly dissolved under the pressure of her rising fame. As a single mother, she juggled motherhood with dwindling opportunities, often forced to leave her son in the care of relatives while she worked. By the early 1980s, she was on the verge of losing her Detroit home, relying on the kindness of old Motown colleagues to stay afloat. For years, she sang at small fairs and modest events far from the arenas she once commanded. Yet Martha never gave up. Despite faded glamour and changing times, she kept her voice alive, still filled with the passion that once electrified America. Today, Martha Reeves may look different from the star she once was, but her story remains one of resilience, endurance, and a love for music that refuses to die. Gladys Knight. Gladys Knight, known as the Empress of Soul, built a career that spanned decades with a voice that could move mountains. Leading her group Gladys Knight and the Pips, she delivered unforgettable classics like Midnight Train to Georgia, which earned her a Grammy and a place in music history. With 7 Grammy Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, she was once the epitome of grace and glamour. Yet the spotlight often hid the turbulence of her personal life. Gladys married for the first time at just 16, only to discover her husband's addiction to drugs, forcing her to raise their 2 children alone. A second marriage ended in more heartbreak, and financial stress compounded her struggles. In the 1980s, she developed a gambling addiction that nearly destroyed her fortune, reportedly losing $60,000 in one night at a Las Vegas casino. Would you have the strength to face the world again after losing not just love, but also the fortune you worked so hard to build? Her deepest wound came in 1999, when her son Jimmy Newman Jr. died of heart failure. That loss haunted her for years, even as she continued to perform. More recently, the death of her brother Merrill, a lifelong musical partner, added another layer of grief. And yet, through each tragedy, Gladys Knight has refused to surrender. Time may have softened her once youthful beauty, but her presence remains commanding. When she steps onto a stage today, her voice carries not just notes, but the resilience of a woman who has fallen, endured, and risen again. Gladys Knight proves that true beauty is not fleeting. It is written in strength and survival. Patti LaBelle. Patti LaBelle, often called the godmother of soul, stunned the world with her fiery stage presence and powerhouse vocals. With Lady Marmalade on My Own and countless other hits, she sold more than 50 million records worldwide, earning 3 Grammy Awards and cementing her place as one of R&B's most iconic voices. Beyond her music, Patti became a style symbol known for glamorous gowns, sky-high heels, and legendary hair. But behind the spotlight was a woman who weathered profound personal storms. Her 32-year marriage to Armstead Edwards, once seen as rock solid, ended in 2000 after years of growing apart. She raised her son largely on her own while still carrying the weight of her demanding career. Even more painful was the loss of her 3 sisters, Vivian, Barbara, and Jackie, all to cancer before the age of 50. Patti held their hands in their final moments left, with an unshakable fear that her fate might be the same. How would you cope if nearly everyone you loved most was taken before their time? In 1995, Patti was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes after collapsing on stage from low blood sugar. Since then, she has lived with the daily challenge of insulin injections, strict diets, and the fear that one performance could be her last. Yet rather than letting the illness silence her, she turned it into advocacy, raising awareness about health in the Black community. Even now, in her late 70s, Patti continues to perform with unmatched energy, her voice as fierce as ever. Though her face and body bear the marks of time and struggle, she radiates the kind of beauty that only resilience can create. Patti LaBelle is living proof that legends never fade. They evolve, carrying their scars as crowns. Diana Ross. Diana Ross. The Queen of Motown rose from Detroit's housing projects to become one of the most glamorous and successful entertainers of all time. As lead singer of the Supremes, she helped the group score 12 #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, more than any other female group in history. Her solo career was just as dazzling, with classics like Ain't No Mountain High Enough and Upside Down. And she went on to sell over 100 million records worldwide. To many, she was the very definition of beauty and elegance, her style influencing generations of performers. But behind the sparkle, Diana endured personal storms. Her close friendship with Florence Ballard, her Supremes co-founder, fractured when Berry Gordy Motown's mogul placed Diana in the spotlight. Ballard's departure and tragic death in 1976 haunted Ross with guilt for years. Her first marriage to Robert Ellis Silberstein collapsed after 6 years, amid rumors that her daughter Rhonda was fathered by Gordy. Her second marriage to Norwegian businessman Arne Næss also ended in heartbreak when he fathered a child with another woman. If your greatest achievements came alongside your greatest losses, would you see yourself as blessed or burdened? In 1999, Ross was arrested for driving under the influence, a shocking headline for a star once considered untouchable. Instead of allowing scandal to destroy her, she chose treatment and continued to perform worldwide. Today, time has softened her face, but her aura remains magnetic. She is more than just a singer. She is a survivor who redefined beauty, not just in sequins and gowns, but in resilience and dignity. Diana Ross's legacy proves that even when glamour fades, greatness endures. Bettye LaVette. Bettye LaVette may not have enjoyed the instant superstardom of her peers, but her voice has always been one of the most powerful in soul and R&B. Born in Michigan in 1946, she stunned audiences with her 1965 hit Let Me Down Easy. Critics hailed her raw delivery, which captured heartbreak like few others could. Many believed she was destined for the top, yet for decades she battled neglect from record labels and the fickle nature of the music industry. While others graced television screens and magazine covers, Bettye was often left behind. Her life was far from easy. Married at 17, she quickly found herself raising a child alone after her marriage collapsed. Through the 1970s and 1980s, she performed in clubs and small venues, struggling to make ends meet. At one point, she even considered giving up music entirely. But her resilience was unbreakable. In the 2000s, after nearly 40 years in the shadows, the world rediscovered her through albums like I've Got My Own Hell to Raise, which finally brought her Grammy nominations and global recognition. Have you ever felt forgotten only to rise later, stronger than before? Though she never sold millions of records like Diana Ross or Patti LaBelle, Bettye's artistry carries a depth born of hardship. Her face now bears the lines of a woman who has lived, fought, and survived. Yet when she sings, those lines seem to disappear, replaced by the sheer force of her emotion. Today, Bettye LaVette is celebrated as proof that real beauty is not always immediate or obvious. It can be carved slowly through struggle and perseverance until the world finally cannot ignore it any longer. Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan, often hailed as the Queen of Funk, electrified the world with her fiery vocals and magnetic stage presence. Born Yvette Marie Stevens in Chicago in 1953, she skyrocketed to fame in the 1970s as the frontwoman of Rufus, delivering timeless hits like Tell Me Something Good and Sweet Thing. Her solo career soared, with anthems such as I'm Every Woman and Ain't Nobody earning her 10 Grammy Awards and more than 70 million records sold worldwide. She embodied beauty power and the fearless spirit of R&B. But behind the glittering lights, Chaka's life spiraled into darkness. By the late 1970s, the pressures of fame and the temptations of the industry dragged her into alcohol and drug abuse. A near-fatal overdose in the 1980s became a terrifying wake-up call. The sight of her young daughter watching her struggle forced Chaka to face her demons head-on. If you had everything, fame, money, beauty, but risked losing yourself, would you find the strength to fight back? Her personal life mirrored her struggles. 3 marriages ended in heartbreak, leaving her to balance career and motherhood as a single parent. In 2006, tragedy struck again when her beloved nephew was killed in Chicago. Yet despite her scars, Chaka emerged from the storm. She completed rehab in 1989 and has since remained a symbol of survival. Today, time may have softened her iconic beauty, but her voice remains as fiery as ever. Chaka Khan stands not only as a legend of funk and R&B, but also as proof that true beauty is found in the courage to rise after falling. Stephanie Mills. Stephanie Mills, born in Brooklyn in 1957, first captured hearts as Dorothy in the original Broadway production of The Wiz, where her performance of Home became an anthem of hope. Transitioning into R&B, she dominated the 1980s with hits like Never Knew Love Like This Before and I Feel Good All Over. Her powerful vocals earned her a Grammy Award and worldwide acclaim, making her one of the era's most admired singers. Behind her success, Stephanie endured heartbreak in love. She married 3 times, including a brief union with Jeffrey Daniel of Shalimar, but each relationship ended in pain. Her second marriage to Dino Meminger collapsed after just 2 years, leaving her once again to pick up the pieces. The greatest test of her life, however, came with motherhood. Her only son, Farad J. Mills, was born with Down syndrome in 2001. Stephanie embraced the role of caretaker, wholeheartedly devoting herself to his development while balancing her demanding career. Can you imagine carrying the weight of the stage while knowing your greatest performance is as a parent fighting for your child's future? Though the music industry shifted and her chart presence faded in the 1990s, Stephanie never surrendered her artistry. At times, she battled self-doubt, crying alone in her New York apartment, unsure if she still belonged in the spotlight. Yet she rose again, using her platform to advocate for children with disabilities and to remind the world that strength and beauty come in many forms. Today, Stephanie Mills may no longer dominate the charts, but her resilience, her voice, and her dedication to family ensure her place as a legend. Anita Baker. Anita Baker. The Queen of Quiet Storm is one of the most beloved R&B voices of all time. Born in Toledo in 1958 and raised in Detroit, she rose from a painful childhood abandoned by her mother at age 2 and raised in foster care to international fame. Her breakout album Rapture 1986 sold over 8 million copies worldwide and won her 2 Grammys, including Best Female R&B Vocal Performance for Sweet Love. With her sophisticated ballads and silky contralto, Anita redefined elegance in R&B during the 1980s and 1990s. But behind her success lay years of heartache. In 1988, she married Walter Bridgeforth Jr., hoping to build the family she had long craved. Yet the marriage deteriorated under constant tension and ended in divorce in 2007, leaving her to raise 2 sons as a single mother. Her professional life also faced turmoil. She became embroiled in bitter legal battles with Elektra Records, fearing the loss of her artistic freedom. The lawsuits dragged on for years, draining her emotionally and financially. What would you choose if forced between protecting your art or preserving your peace of mind? By the 1990s, exhaustion and stress led her to step away from the stage. Fans feared she had disappeared forever, but Anita resurfaced in the 2000s, performing selective shows and reclaiming her place as an R&B legend. Though time has changed her appearance, her voice remains as intoxicating as ever. Anita Baker's story is one of triumph over abandonment, betrayal, and adversity, proof that true beauty is not just about a flawless image, but about a soul that continues to sing despite the silence. Jody Watley. Jody Watley, born in Chicago in 1959, became one of the most stylish and innovative stars of modern R&B. Starting as a member of the group Shalimar, she helped shape hits like A Night to Remember before launching a solo career in 1987. Her debut album sold over 2 million copies in the US alone and earned her the Grammy Award for Best New Artist. With songs like Looking for a New Love and Don't You Want Me, she fused R&B with pop and dance, becoming a trendsetter in fashion and sound. Yet Jody's glamorous image masked years of struggle. Her parents divorced when she was a child, forcing her to grow up quickly in a fractured household. In 1991, she married musician Andre Simone, with whom she had a daughter, Lauren. But by 1994, the marriage ended in divorce, leaving Jody to navigate single motherhood while fighting to stay relevant in an industry that constantly demanded reinvention. Have you ever felt the weight of trying to prove yourself again, even after you've already won the world's applause? By the late 1990s, shifting music trends left her overshadowed by younger stars. Public scrutiny and endless comparisons chipped away at her confidence, leading to bouts of depression. But Jody refused to disappear. She rebuilt her career as an independent artist, controlling her image and sound on her own terms. Though her youthful glamour has faded, her artistry remains sharp, her presence magnetic. Today, Jody Watley is admired not only for her groundbreaking music, but for her perseverance. She embodies beauty that endures through independence, survival, and self-belief. Regina Belle. Regina Belle, born in 1963 in New Jersey, became one of the most beloved R&B and gospel voices of the 1980s and 1990s. She first captured national attention with her 1987 debut, All by Myself, but it was her 1992 duet, A Whole New World with Peabo Bryson for Disney's Aladdin, that brought her global fame, earning her both a Grammy Award and an Academy Award. With her warm, powerful voice, she delivered timeless love songs like Baby Come to Me and Make It Like It Was. Yet her life took a dramatic turn in 2009, when Regina was diagnosed with a brain tumor that doctors feared could steal her ability to speak, sing, or even walk. She underwent surgery followed by a grueling recovery where she had to relearn how to talk and regain her balance. During this time, she leaned heavily on her faith and the support of her husband, former NBA player John Battle, and their 5 children. Can you imagine facing the possibility of losing not just your life, but the very gift that defines your identity? The tumor's removal saved her life but left lasting effects. At times, she doubted she would ever sing again. Yet with determination, she returned to the stage, her voice tinged with the richness of survival. Regina had already endured hardship before her parents' divorce, the loss of her mother in 2005, and the struggle of balancing career with family. But this health battle was her fiercest. Today, she continues to record gospel music, inspiring others with her testimony. Though time and illness have altered her appearance, her true beauty radiates in her resilience. Regina Belle is proof that legends endure not by perfection, but by courage. Toni Braxton. Toni Braxton, born in 1967 in Maryland, is one of the most distinctive R&B voices of her generation. With a sultry contralto and dramatic delivery, she defined 1990s R&B with chart toppers like Unbreak My Heart, Breathe Again, and You're Making Me High. Her career has sold over 70 million records worldwide, including 41 million albums, making her one of the best-selling female artists in history. She has won 7 Grammy Awards, cementing her as a music icon. But behind the fame, Toni faced constant battles. In 1998, at the height of her career, she shocked the world by filing for bankruptcy after a record contract left her millions in debt. Just over a decade later, in 2010, she declared bankruptcy again, this time owing between $10 to $50 million due to medical bills, taxes, and lifestyle pressures. If you had millions of fans worldwide but were forced to sell your belongings to survive, would you still find the strength to stand on stage? Her health became another enemy. Diagnosed with lupus, an autoimmune disease, and heart complications, she collapsed during a Las Vegas performance in 2008. Hospitalizations, treatments, and flare-ups became part of her life, yet she continued to perform. Her personal life was equally turbulent. Her marriage to musician Carrie Lewis ended in divorce in 2013, leaving her to raise 2 sons alone. One of them, Diesel, was diagnosed with autism, a challenge she embraced with fierce devotion. Despite these struggles, Toni refuses to fade away. She starred in reality television with her sisters, returned to the stage, and even released new music in her 50s. Today, her appearance reflects the toll of illness and stress, but her presence remains luminous. Toni Braxton embodies the essence of beauty transformed by resilience turning pain into timeless artistry. Mary J. Blige. Mary J. Blige, the queen of hip-hop soul, is more than an artist. She is a survivor whose voice carries the weight of her struggles. Born in the Bronx in 1971, Mary grew up in the Schlobohm housing projects of Yonkers, New York, a neighborhood marked by poverty, violence, and pain. At just 7 years old, she suffered sexual abuse, a trauma that haunted her for years. Music became her refuge, and by 1992, her debut album, What's the 411, introduced a raw blend of R&B and hip-hop that reshaped the industry. With over 100 million records sold worldwide and 9 Grammy Awards, she is an undeniable icon. But fame did not erase her demons. Through the 1990s, Mary spiraled into alcoholism, drugs, and abusive relationships. She has admitted to waking up in hotel rooms not knowing if she would live another day. In 2004, she began a journey of healing, relying on her Christian faith to escape addiction. What gives you strength when the weight of your past seems too heavy to carry? Her marriage to Kendu Isaacs, once seen as her salvation, collapsed in 2016 after 13 years, leading to a bitter divorce and spousal support battles. Mary later confessed that betrayal nearly destroyed her spirit. Still, she rose again, releasing acclaimed albums and even transitioning into acting. In 2022, she performed at the Super Bowl halftime show, reminding the world of her unmatched power. Today, at 52, she looks different from the glamorous young star of the 1990s, her face and body shaped by years of hardship. Yet Mary J. Blige remains beautiful in the truest sense, a woman who embodies survival strength and the will to transform pain into timeless music. Erykah Badu. Erykah Badu, often called the Queen of Neo-Soul, has never been afraid to stand apart. Born Erica Wright in 1971 in Dallas, Texas, she burst onto the scene with her 1997 debut, Baduism, an album that won her 2 Grammys and established her as a pioneer of a new spiritual brand of R&B. With her head wraps, poetic lyrics, and distinctive voice, she became a symbol of individuality and Afrocentric pride, selling millions of records worldwide. Her personal life, however, was a journey of love and heartbreak. Her relationship with Andre 3000 of Outkast produced a son, Seven, in 1997, but the couple split 2 years later. Later, relationships with rappers Common and Jay Electronica brought her further into the public eye, yet none gave her the stability she longed for. Balancing motherhood and her career often left her stretched thin, questioning whether her children suffered from her constant absence. Have you ever chosen independence over conformity, even if it meant being misunderstood? Controversy has followed her boldness. In 2010, she filmed a music video in Dealey Plaza, the site of President John F. Kennedy's assassination, stripping nude as a statement of freedom, an act that sparked outrage and a $500 fine. Still, Badu remained unapologetic, insisting that art must provoke. At times, she has faced depression and criticism for her unconventional choices, yet meditation, spirituality, and creativity remain her lifelines. Today, though, her look has shifted from youthful glamour to a more eccentric, soulful presence. Erykah Badu continues to inspire as a free spirit who refuses to conform. Her beauty lies not in perfection but in authenticity, courage, and the power to redefine what it means to be an R&B legend. Jill Scott. Jill Scott, born in 1972 in Philadelphia, is a multi-talented force, an R&B and neo-soul singer, poet, and actress. She rose to fame in 2000 with her debut album, Who is Jill Scott? Words and Sounds Volume 1, which went platinum and earned her critical acclaim. Known for her sultry voice and soulful storytelling, she gave the world timeless tracks like A Long Walk and Golden. Over her career, she has won 3 Grammy Awards and acted in films such as Why Did I Get Married and the HBO series The #1 Ladies Detective Agency. Yet Jill's personal journey has been one of trials. Raised by her mother and grandmother in North Philadelphia, She grew up without a father, surrounded by poverty and hardship. Love seemed just as unstable. In 2001, she married her longtime boyfriend, Lizelle Williams, but the marriage ended in 2007 after 6 years of growing apart. A second marriage to Mike Dobson in 2016 ended within 18 months with bitter divorce proceedings splashed across the media. How do you keep believing in love when heartbreak seems to follow you at every turn? Motherhood became her anchor. Her son, Jet, born in 2009, inspired her to persevere through depression and loneliness. Jill has openly shared how guilt from time away on tour weighed heavily on her. At times, the industry's pressure and personal struggles pushed her into dark moments. But rather than break, she sought therapy and leaned on her art as healing. Today, Jill Scott looks different than in her early career, her curves and age reflecting life's battles. But her beauty has only deepened, rooted in wisdom, honesty, and the power to uplift others through music and words. Faith Evans. Faith Evans, born in 1973 in Florida and raised in New Jersey, is a voice of resilience in R&B and hip-hop soul. She began as a background singer for Al B., Sure, and Christopher Williams before releasing her debut album Faith in 1995. The record went platinum and positioned her as one of the first female artists signed to Bad Boy Records. With hits like Soon as I Get Home and Love Like This, she became a star. But her most famous work came in 1997 when she collaborated on I'll Be Missing You, a tribute to her late husband, the notorious B.I.G. The song won a Grammy and sold more than 8 million copies worldwide. Her marriage to Biggie was whirlwind and tumultuous. They wed just days after meeting in 1994, but infidelity, jealousy, and the pressures of fame strained their bond. Biggie's murder in 1997 devastated her, leaving her to raise their son Christopher Jr. as a single mother while battling grief and media scrutiny. What would you do if the love of your life was taken suddenly and the whole world was watching you grieve? Faith pushed forward remarrying and having more children, but her life continued to be tested. In 2004, she and her husband Todd Russell were arrested on drug charges, a scandal that threatened to derail her career. She faced financial stress, divorce, and the challenge of balancing motherhood with music. Yet through it all, she refused to be silenced. Faith Evans continued releasing albums, writing a memoir, and even collaborating with her late husband posthumously on The King and I 2017. Though time has softened her once youthful image, Faith Evans radiates a deeper beauty, one carved by loss, survival, and strength. Her legacy reminds us that even through heartbreak, the soul of a true artist never fades. Syleena Johnson. Syleena Johnson, born in 1976 in Harvey, Illinois, inherited her musical gift from her father, legendary blues and soul singer Syl Johnson. From an early age, she was immersed in music, but her journey was never easy. In 2001, she released Chapter 1, Love, Pain, and Forgiveness, the first in her acclaimed series of chapter albums showcasing her powerhouse vocals and heartfelt storytelling. Collaborations with artists like Kanye West on All Falls Down and Common on Hypnotic cemented her place as one of the most soulful voices of her generation. Yet Syleena's personal life mirrored the heartbreak in her songs. Her parents' turbulent marriage and eventual divorce left scars that shaped her views on love. In 2007, she married basketball player Kiwan Garris, and together they had 2 sons. But by 2013, the marriage had ended, forcing Syleena to rebuild her life as a single mother while balancing her career. Have you ever looked at someone on stage and wondered how much pain they were hiding behind that smile? She also faced physical and emotional battles. Years of stress led to significant weight gain, at one point topping 200 pounds, which triggered depression and public scrutiny. Determined to regain control, she underwent weight loss surgery, not out of vanity, but to restore her health and spirit. Instead of hiding her struggles, she spoke openly, becoming an advocate for women's health and self-acceptance. Today, though, her appearance has changed with time and hardship. Her authenticity shines brighter than ever. Syleena Johnson is not just a singer. She is a warrior who turned pain into power, inspiring others to rise above their trials. Brandy. Brandy Norwood, born in 1979 in Mississippi, became America's Princess of R&B in the 1990s. With her angelic voice and relatable lyrics, she captured millions of hearts with hits like I Wanna Be Down, Have You Ever, and The Boy Is Mine, which spent 13 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Her debut album went quadruple platinum, and she went on to sell over 40 million records worldwide. Brandy also became a television star in the hit sitcom Moesha, and starred in Disney's Cinderella, alongside Whitney Houston, breaking ground for Black representation in Hollywood. But her personal life was far from a fairy tale. In December 2006, Brandy was involved in a tragic car accident in Los Angeles that claimed another driver's life. Though she was not criminally charged, the emotional toll left her deeply scarred and battling depression for years. Would you be able to step back into the spotlight knowing the world still whispers about your darkest moment? Her romantic life brought further struggles. A relationship with music producer Robert Big Bert Smith ended while she was pregnant, leaving her to raise her daughter Sarai as a single mother. Later, her engagement to NBA player Quentin Richardson collapsed, adding another heartbreak. Despite these challenges, Brandy fought to return to music with albums like Human 2008 and 211 2012, though commercial success never matched her early heights. Still, Brandy remains a cultural icon whose influence paved the way for artists like Rihanna and Ariana Grande. Today, her appearance reflects the weight of her battles, but her beauty endures in her authenticity and resilience. Brandy may look different from the radiant teen who first captured our hearts, yet her legacy reminds us that survival, not perfection, is the truest mark of greatness. Mia. Mia Harrison, born in 1979 in Washington, D.C., emerged in the late 1990s as one of R&B's freshest faces. With her soft, sultry voice and undeniable charm, she quickly rose to fame with her self-titled debut album in 1998, which went platinum thanks to singles like It's All About Me. By 2001, she was a household name, especially after teaming up with Christina Aguilera, Pink, and Lil' Kim for the smash hit Lady Marmalade, which won a Grammy Award and topped the Billboard charts for 5 weeks. Known for her beauty and grace, Mia was once seen as the epitome of youthful glamour in R&B. But her journey wasn't free of struggle. Growing up in a household shaken by her parents' divorce, she turned to music and dance as her safe haven. As her career advanced, she faced industry setbacks, albums, shelved projects, delayed, and shifting trends that pushed her into the background. By the late 2000s, Mia was forced to leave major labels and reinvent herself as an independent artist, financing her own albums and tours. Would you still chase your dream if the world stopped paying attention? Her romantic life also came under scrutiny, with tabloids linking her to high-profile figures while she quietly endured heartbreak in private. Many assumed her career was over, but Mia proved otherwise. She rebuilt her image, winning fans in Asia and Europe, and even received a Grammy nomination in 2017 for her independent album, Smooth Jones. Though time has changed her appearance from the wide-eyed ingenue she once was, her confidence and resilience shine brighter. Mia's beauty today lies not only in her face, but in her independence, showing that even when forgotten by the mainstream, true artistry never fades. Monica. Monica Denise Arnold, born in 1980 in Atlanta, became a superstar before she was even out of her teens. Her 1995 debut, Miss Thang, spawned hits like Don't Take It Personal and Before You Walk Out of My Life, making her one of the youngest artists ever to have 2 #1 Billboard singles. She solidified her status with The Boy Is Mine alongside Brandy, a track that dominated the charts and won a Grammy Award. With more than 25 million albums sold worldwide, Monica's voice and style made her an R&B mainstay. Yet Monica's personal story is filled with heartache. In 2000, she witnessed the sudden death of her boyfriend, Jarvis Weems, who died by suicide right in front of her eyes. The trauma left her in deep depression, nearly silencing her career. Still, she returned, channeling her grief into her 2003 album, After the Storm, which fittingly became a commercial success. What would you do if tragedy struck at the very moment your career was reaching its peak? Her love life continued to test her strength. She married NBA player Shannon Brown in 2010 in what seemed like a fairy tale union. But after years of speculation and strain, the couple divorced in 2019. As a single mother of 3, Monica has shouldered both her family and career with grace. Despite personal pain, she has continued to record music tour and even star in reality television, connecting with fans through her authenticity. Though the young Monica who once ruled the charts may look different today, her spirit has not dimmed. She remains beautiful not just for her voice, but for her resilience. A woman who has survived heartbreak, motherhood, and fame while continuing to inspire millions. As we reflect on these 35 beautiful Black R&B legends who once ruled the charts and stages, the question lingers: has the world forgotten them, or has time simply reshaped how we see beauty and greatness? Their voices remain timeless, but their journeys remind us that fame fades while resilience endures. Do you believe society celebrates artists enough while they're here, or only after their shine has dimmed? Share your thoughts below. We can't wait to hear your perspective. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and support Legends of Black Excellence for more powerful stories.